today's story, the sons of Israel had been slaves in Egypt for a long time, and after 10 horrible plagues that came upon the Egyptians, finally the Pharaoh agreed to let them leave. And so they left Egypt, and for a while they were very excited and happy, but as they were fleeing Egypt, the Pharaoh changed his mind and decided that he didn't want to let them go, and he was sending his whole big Egyptian army after them. And so the children of Israel were fleeing from the Egyptians, and they came up upon the Red Sea right on the edge, and they were trapped because the Egyptian army was coming like this, and they were trapped on the edge of the Red Sea with nowhere to go, and they were scared. And listen to what it is that the Lord tells Moses to tell the people to do. Something very simple. And when Pharaoh drew near, the sons of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the sons of Israel cried out to Jehovah. Then they said to Moses, "Because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you so dealt with us to bring us up out of Egypt? Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, 'Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians'? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die here in the wilderness." And Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of Jehovah, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. Jehovah shall wage war for you, and you shall be silent." And Jehovah said to Moses, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. But lift up your rod, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I indeed will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will be glorified over Pharaoh and over all his armies, his chariots and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians shall know that I am Jehovah." And the angel of God who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went out from before them and stood behind them. Amen. So what did the Lord tell Moses to tell the children of Israel to do while they were on the edge of that water? He told Moses to raise his hand, and what was he going to do? Told Moses to raise his hand, and what was he going to have in his hand? His rod, and he was going to raise it over what?
The water.
Over the water. He was going to raise it over the water, and what was going to happen? The water was going to part. It was going to part. So in this big sea that was before them, that was the obstacle in their way, Moses was going to raise his rod over that sea, and the Lord was going to cause the waters to part. And then he told them to do something very simple. They were to go, what direction did it say? Straight or forward? They thought they were trapped. They were whining and they were complaining, and the Lord said, tell them to go forward. Tell them to go forward. Now, if you had been in that situation and you saw that big sea of water and the Egyptians coming and you felt trapped, would you trust the Lord when He said, go forward, and all you saw was that big sea of water? Yeah, we might not think that the Lord knew what He was doing. How can you go forward when there is this sea of water in front of you? Very important lesson that the Lord gave them about going forward and trusting in the Lord. Moses, with his rod, stood for the divine truth in the Lord's Word. And that divine truth in the Lord's Word can part any obstacle for us. Any false ideas that we have, any problems that seem insurmountable, if we will trust the Lord and follow His lead and go forward, the Lord can lead us out of any sad situation that we are in. But we have to do something. We have to act. We have to go forward. Have you ever had your parents, when they've asked you to do something and you're whining and complaining, what do they sometimes tell you to do when you're whining and complaining? They might tell you to listen to the Lord, and they might also tell you to be silent, to be quiet. See, sometimes we get so tied up, so excited with our problems, and we whine and we complain, and we don't do anything that is positive. We just sit there and moan and complain about how sad our lot is. Maybe your parents have asked you to clean up your room. Very simple thing to do, but we might instead decide that we're going to whine and complain and moan about how sad our life is and how rotten our fate is. But all we really need to do to solve that situation is do something positive. Follow the instruction of your parent and say, I will clean my room. And that positive action, being willing to go forward and do what is asked, solves the problem. And then you're free to go about and do other things. So remember this lesson from our story today. The Lord said two things. He said, be silent, stop your complaining, and go forward. Trust me. Follow the truth in my word. Follow the truth that I teach you, and do something positive. Go forward. And the Lord promised them that He would then deliver them by the might of His hand. Amen. Please rise for the blessing of the children.